In the golf swing, 80% of the speed comes from the wrists and arms. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly the number one reason why people don't use their arms and wrists, and the two reasons why this generally happens. So if you don't know me, my name is Andrew. I've traveled around the country learning from the top teaching pros, and I've used that knowledge to help my students get better faster and stay better. So in the swing, most of the speed comes from the wrists and the arms. If I just use my body, I can move this club head pretty fast, but if I just use my arms and wrists, I can move it much faster. And obviously in the swing we use both, but most people are using too much body versus arms. Okay, so when I use my wrists and my arms, it's just like throwing a ball. If I throw a ball, I hinge my wrist, bend my elbow, and extend through. If I do the opposite, it's like shot putting it. Obviously, when I'm using my wrists and my arm, I'm going to throw the ball much farther. So it's the same in the golf swing. So if I hinge my wrist, bend my elbow, and extend them, I'm going to close the face. Okay? So the number one reason why people don't use their arms and wrists is because something in their setup or during their swing is making it that their face is already too shut. By shut, I mean pointed left. And that doesn't mean at setup I'm here and my face is already pointed left. It means something in our setup is making it so if we just swing naturally, the face will be shut and it'll go left. So the reason they don't use their wrists and their arms is because they actively shut the face. But if our face is already too shut, we're not going to want to do that because it's just going to make us miss really far left. So the best way to see this on face on is thinking of the butt end of the club versus my belly button. So when I just swing my arms back and forth, this butt of the club points at my belly button. If I hold off, so like shock put it, I'm just turning my body, this never points at my belly button. And the reason they do that is when you push the handle forward, it keeps the face more square. So when you push it forward, it opens the face, which counteracts the face already being too shut. But what happens is you don't get the speed from the arms and the wrist, and then also you're going to hit it really low. So first what we have to do, and the goal of everything, is to figure out the perfect setup for us so that our face is not going to be predetermined shut, so that we can actively close it during the swing, so then we can really be aggressive and use our arms and wrists. So by far the number one reason why people have their grip why their face is too shut is their right hand grip is too strong. And by strong I mean more under the shaft. So this is under the shaft, this is on top of the shaft. So they're perfect grips. They're people that play with all different style grips on the tour, but there's only one correct one for you. So the best way to figure out which grip is perfect for you, we're going to use the Mike Adams fold test. So all you're going to do, put your hands together, get in your golf posture, and all you're going to do while keeping your shoulders and your chest relatively still is you're going to swing your arms to the right and allow this right elbow to bend. You're going to go till about left arm parallel. So when I do that, my elbow goes behind. What I'm looking for is where does my elbow go in relation to my shirt seam. So when I do this, my elbow goes behind my shirt seam. That means my elbow or my hand will be more on top of the shaft during setup. When some people do it, their elbow will be on the shirt seam. That means their hand will be more on the side of the shaft. And when some people do this, their elbow stays more in front, their forearm rotates, their palm is more up. That means their grip will be more under the shaft. So what that looks like, when I do this and the elbow stays in front, palm up, that means I want this V created by your right hand to be pointed more towards your right shoulder. When they do it and the elbow is more on the side, that means the V is going to be pointed more towards your right collarbone. And when they do that and it goes behind them, hands are going to be more on top, that means the V will be pointed more towards our nose. Okay? So once you do the test and match the grip to the test, we're going to test it. So what you're going to do, just swing your arm back and forth. It's impossible not to think of golf, but just swing it back and forth. You're not doing anything. And now what you're going to do is you're going to test different grips. And the grip is the palm versus club face. So we're going to test different grips. So if I'm naturally should be here, but if I grip here and I naturally do this test, at impact, my face is pointed way left. So that means my face would be shut. So what I would do, I wouldn't be able to use my arms and wrists. I'm going to have to push this forward, lean back, go like this. I'm not going to hit it very far, and all I'm going to do is just hook it. Okay? So the goal of this drill is to figure out where your grip has to be so that you don't have to think. You're just swinging it back and forth and the face is square. So now we don't have to time it as much, the face won't be as shut, and now we can actively use the arms and wrist. So basically, do the Mike Adams fold test, get the correct palm versus face, depending on that test, and then see it for yourself by just swinging this back and forth and figuring out where does my hand have to be so that this face is very square. If some grip positions, the face will be shut. Some grip positions, the face will be open. We're just looking where does it have to be for the face to be very neutral. Okay? And then from there, we'll be able to actively use our hands and wrists. So the second reason why why the face is too shut is because they're too stacked during their swing. So by stacked, I mean the chest is over the pelvis. So some people, it's good to be too stacked. So if you have a more on top grip like this, like me, so your elbow goes more behind you, I'm going to want you to stay more stacked, top, pretty stacked, and then it grows in the downswing, but don't have to think about that. More, it's just at the top of your swing and setup. But the issue that is very common is when you do this test, elbow stays in front, the V should be at your right shoulder. What these people run into is if they're too stacked at setup and at top, what it's going to do, even though their grip is perfect, their face is going to point left. So from there, they're going to either fall back or push forward, and they're just not going to be able to use their arms. So if your V is pointed towards your right shoulder, we need some tilt. So a little bit like this, so bump your hips forward, and then drop your sternum back. So now I have this tilt here. And then at the top, we're going to have this tilt. And then in the downswing, it will grow a little bit. So from there, the face won't be shut, and we can use our arms and our wrists. So overall, what we want to do is figure out the perfect setup for us so that we can hinge our wrist, bend our elbow, and extend them like throwing a ball. And we don't want the face to be too shut, which makes us shock put, use our body. Feels like we're using a lot of effort, but we're not getting the ball speed and the distance that we want. So 2 ways to do it. Do the Mike Adams fold test to figure out where your palm should be relative to the club face, and then you'll test it by just swinging your arm back and forth, seeing where the club face is pointed. If it's too shut, that means we need to try a different grip. If it's too open, we need to try a different grip. We're just looking for where does my hand have to be so that the face is very, very still and pointed towards the target. And the second most common reason why people don't use their hands and arms is their palm. If they have a grip that is pointed at their right shoulder, so their elbow is in front of them, they don't have enough tilt. And people that are like this are Wyndham Clark, Jon Rahm, Xander. So try these 2 things, get the grip in the correct spot, and if you have a V pointing towards the right shoulder, get the correct tilt, and I'm sure you will see much better results. The one thing that I say, so once you switch your grip, so most people, your grip will be going from this direction to this direction. So if my grip was here, see how the face is closed relative to my hand? Now if I switch to here, the face is almost open relative to my hand. So what that means is right away, you're probably going to start missing them right, just because the face is more open than you're used to. So what we have to do now is learn how to close it with our hands and our wrists and our arms. So now what we're going to try and do is feel like this club points at our belly button a little earlier, and that's what's going to close the club face and make it go straight. So it's actually going to feel like you're going to have to try and hook it to make the ball go straight because the club face is more open than you're used to. So try these, let me know how it goes.